Afternoon, everybody. Just reporting in after today's press conference, which was held at Benton with Eddie Howe, looking at the Man City game, basically. I'll just wait for a few more people to jump on here before I continue. But yeah, it was, a lot of talk about transfers and also the big subject, which Bruno Guimaraes, his name has been dominating the headlines in the last 24 hours because of movement in Real Madrid, and that's just breaking now this lunchtime that Casemiro is leaving Real Madrid, and Bruno Guimaraes is deemed as a possible replacement for him. But the reality is Newcastle don't want to sell, so there's obviously a lot of different sides to it. He may well be on Real Madrid's wanted list, but the news that we received from the press conference earlier today was basically that he doesn't have an escape clause in his contract, which makes things a lot easier for Newcastle, because that would then mean that Real Madrid would have to come up with an astronomical fee to ensure he left the club. But the reality is Newcastle don't want to sell. That's what Eddie Howe said today. He wants to build a team around him. He wants to offer him the chance to achieve some of his ambitions here at St James's Park. Now, that might be a hard sell because Newcastle aren't really close to even challenging for a Champions League spot at the moment, and certainly I don't have the power that Real Madrid have. But looking at it, really, if he did go to Real Madrid, my opinion is he just becomes another player there. If he's at Newcastle United, he's the main man. For me, I said when he signed, he looked like the type of guy who could be a future captain of Newcastle United. And there's nothing that's happened since has changed my opinion on it. He's been absolutely first class. But what we're being told is that this was an inquiry from Real Madrid to Bruno's people. But and certainly this morning, people I've been talking to say that Bruno doesn't really want to leave Newcastle United, and they don't want to sell him. So, this one could be a flash in the panic. The stories from Spain and Brazil, that's where they're coming from. They could come and go very quickly. Real Madrid might move on to another target very quickly, and then it's not even a story anymore. I mean, if you listen to Eddie Howe this morning, he said it wasn't a story anyway. He said he doesn't want to sell him, and he's got no way out of his contract that he signed till 2026. So Newcastle could put any fee they wanted on Bruno. And also he spoke about his character. He said he's not the type of guy who's going to agitate to leave the club. And he reminded everybody that when Bruno signed, Newcastle were in the relegation area of the Premier League table, and he still signed. He could have. He said at the time it was a risk when he signed, but Newcastle didn't go down. And realistically, now I think for Eddie Howe, he wants to build that team around him. Things, we'll move on to transfers in a moment, but things aren't really moving in the direction Newcastle would have liked at this stage. Let's be totally honest here. It's more than 6 weeks now since Newcastle signed a player. Things you didn't think you'd want to be saying or hear yourself saying. 6 weeks without signing a player, what a crisis, compared to the Mike Ashley era. But it was July 1st when Botman was confirmed. Newcastle have made a lot of inquiries, put in a lot of bids since then, but they haven't managed to get that player in the squad. But there's still 2 weeks left. I think they have got a lot of options. They did, mention that they were dealing with a small pool of players, and it's one of them where Eddie Howe has to get the right character through the door, the exact right person who's going to come in, be part of the squad, compete for the place, and give Eddie Howe a real option to add to what he's already got. On paper, when I look at the starting lineup on paper, I think it's a good side. I do. I believe that they can get results this season. There's no doubt about it. That 4-3-3 formation. Even last week when Matt Targett was injured, Dan Burn stepped in at left back. He could have put another left back there. He had left backs available on the bench. He had 3 other options available to him to play at left back. He put Dan Burn there, and Dan Burn done a tremendous job. So that says a lot about the squad. Targett himself was just one of the 3 signings this summer, but ultimately we're looking at the other end of the pitch now. And I think everyone's got the dream signing who they would have, but they need another striker. They need another right-sided player, or perhaps someone who can play on both sides. Some of the players that they've been linked with can't do that. Callum Hudson-Odoi being one of them. He can play on the right or the left, and he is available for a loan from Chelsea. That's now been confirmed from the Stamford Bridge end. But do Newcastle fit the bill for him personally? Maybe he wants to be in the south. We don't know. We know Southampton and Leicester are certainly 2 of the clubs interested in him, but he is, a genuine loan target for Newcastle United, moving into the latter stages of this window. In terms of striker, we all know about the Joao Pedro bid at Watford. Watford playing hardball. I think the first bid was an initial £17 million with 3 million add-ons. The next bid's been 20 million with 3 million add-ons, which would take it to 23. They're still saying no. There is another factor to add into this, that Fluminense will want 10% of the fee. So that's got to be calculated into it. It's got to be made worthwhile for Watford. They're not being very helpful. And why would they be? Because they're a team that's just been relegated. They want to get back first time. They want to try and hold on to some of the best players. They've already lost a lot of players in this window. So this one is one that might rumble on. It could still get done. Newcastle might have a tipping point for Watford, and he would come here and he would challenge Callum Wilson. So I think it would be a decent signing. I know I've seen a few negative comments about him, but I do think if he come here and once he settled down, I think he would be an adequate signing for Newcastle this season. Absolutely. And then you've got other loan options. There's people Chelsea such as Brozier. He's another one. Conor Gallagher. They can only sign one player from Chelsea on loan, so that's what you've also got to factor in. The vibes are that at least one player from Chelsea will come on loan this summer, but we'll have to wait and see. I think realistically now, you've got to be confident Newcastle will get the job done in terms of transfers. As I said before, other windows they wouldn't have managed this. I think they just got one player through the door, last summer, which was Joe Willock. It took a long time to do. So let's just remind ourselves of where Newcastle, the long, distance Newcastle come in a very short space of time. The dark days of Mike Ashley, they're gone now, and there should really be no negativity because they will get players through the door. Whether it's this window, next window, you'd like to think that in the next 2 weeks, those couple of deals will go through, then the squad will get balanced, and then they've got the team and the squad ready to go. I know that's what Eddie Howe is probably, without him saying it, he's probably looking forward to the deadline, getting it done, getting that all confirmed, and then he can concentrate solely on football, because that for me, that's what he is. He's probably a modern day tracksuit manager who wants to be on the training pitch with his players and working on formations. The guy's obsessed with every little detail in football, and that's why Newcastle into 2022 are sitting fourth in the calendar year table. That's no coincidence, because he's meticulous in what he does. So I think you've got to have trust in him. You've got Dan Ashworth there, the sporting director. They're keeping an eye on the deals they can do with the money that they've got. But overall, I think if Newcastle sign one or two more players in this window, it's still been a successful window. Of course, it has. It's been better than last year. There was 2019 when they did break the record and got Joe Linton, but ultimately, I think Newcastle now will want to, get business done. It is very much the last stages of the window now, and I think they'll just want to, get things done. Quick look at Man City. Man City have opened the season up with 2 Premier League victories at West Ham and at home to Bournemouth. They did lose in the Community Shield though when Liverpool exposed a few cracks in the defence. So look, they're not unbeatable. You can fear this game all you want, but a packed St James's Park on Sunday. Hopefully, it's going to be a great day. I think really this is an opportunity to lay down a marker, if anything. It will be tough. Erling Haaland coming up here, looking for a goal, didn't score last week. But you could single out any player on the pitch. You could go right around the pitch and say they're all a threat. So it's no good just talking about Haaland because he's going to do what he does. He's just going to put the final touch to it. A couple of people there saying they would take a draw. Yeah, I'd definitely take a draw. Absolutely. But look, Newcastle in the past 2019 beat Man City at St James's Park. Anything is possible. They got a draw when Steve Bruce was in charge. So, again, anything is possible. There's no foregone conclusion that Newcastle United are going to get beat off Man City. Yeah, it will be tough. And as they proved last season, 4-0 and 5-0, 2 results that were very painful at the time. Newcastle, got to have belief going in this one. They haven't conceded a goal yet. They've looked very fit on the back of what they did in pre-season, worked very hard. So I think you just got to have confidence in the side, and hopefully they can get the result that everyone's talking about. And if they do, wow, what a start of the season it's been. I think everyone discussed the first 5 games and said 6 or 7 points would do us. But if they can get any more than that, then they're already, if they can get a double figures from these first 5 games, that's quarter of the points that you need to stay up. And let's get that bit done first this season. Let's get it done early rather than waiting until after March to confirm our place. But really, it's going to be step by step this season. Man City is a huge game, but it's not the be all and end all if they lose. But ultimately, would like to see Newcastle compete against Man City. It'll be a great occasion if they can get the win. We'll have all the coverage on Sunday, and hopefully we'll look forward to seeing you drop by then.